news that is already put out there ever since Saturday, and we finally get a chance to talk about it. And that's Karl Anthony Towns is a New York Knick. He got traded from the Minnesota Timberwolves, and now he's gonna have to deal with the real wolves, which is the New York media. The New York media are the real wolves. So Jason,
So we're nice. Come on.
yeah. So first of all, thank you for joining once again, Jason.
Yeah,
And
no problem.
number two, do you think Karl Anthony Towns could handle the New York media and the pressure and everything that comes along with being a New York athlete?
I honestly believe that he will be able to deal with the New York media. I think he's from what we've heard from him so far, yesterday, last couple of days, he's excited to come to New York to play at Madison Square Garden, a chance to legitimately be the final piece to win the Knicks winning the NBA title. So he'll be able to handle. Again, it's a long season. He'll have to just deal with roll with the punches when he doesn't have a good game or whatnot. But I think he'll be okay. I wouldn't. I'm not going to really worry about that. I wouldn't worry about that if I'm a Knicks fan. I think he'll be fine.
This experience could make or break him. The simple fact that he's in his prime, he's 28 years old.
Yep.
And now you're playing for the number one city, the largest market city in the United States, New York.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
We know how savages New York media is. We know how savages us New York fans are.
Sure.
Right? And yes, we know the Knicks haven't won since 1973.
Oh.
They haven't been to the finals since 99. But now I believe that this front office has been a very good front office with these moves that they're making. But again, we've seen this before, that they go for the home run. The last 10 years hasn't worked out, I should say.
Right.
So every time that they make these big trades, you get nervous and you start, worry about what's going to happen. So with Karl Anthony Towns, the good thing is that he's not the number one option. He's not the number one option in this team. You don't have to depend on him to play defense. So I think offensively, he needs to be consistent, obviously. Me personally, I don't trust him in the postseason. But if he can if he can come through in the postseason, something that Julius Randle couldn't do,
Correct.
then that'll be great. That'll be great. So I feel that this was a win-win trade, but if I have to force to choose which side won the trade, I would say a little slight edge to the Knicks.
Right. So realistically, we thought the Knicks were going to run back, with Julius Randle. We thought they were going to make another run with Julius Randle and then take it from there. But I think with the injury to Mitchell Robinson and Hartstein going to I forgot where he went, wherever he went. Not on the team, left free agency.
Okay, see.
Oh, right, Oklahoma, right. I wanted to say
I'm gonna miss him though. I'm gonna miss
him. Yeah,
no,
of course. So I think the Knicks were a little worried about that. So I think because this isn't the first time we heard the Knicks discuss a trade for Karl Anthony Towns. We heard this the last couple of seasons, and I was like, yeah, that's not going to happen. And by the way, he's a better defender than he gets credit for. He's not Mitchell Robinson and Heinstein, but he's a good defender. He's okay. He's not
takes it up a notch.
Right. So again, the Knicks went for it. Remember, DiVincenzo also went in the trade, so he's a loss for the Knicks. If you go by the Knicks, how they run that offense, how they want to run the offense, Karl Anthony Towns fits better. He can hit the 3-pointer. He's a better shooter than Randle. Randle's a isolation guy. He has to get the ball. Everyone clears out. He'll face the rim and then take the defender one-on-one and then pass it or go to the net, however he does it, or step back and hits a jumper. So,
and I'm not the biggest fan of isolation players. I'm not.
Well, right. So that was the old. I tell all the younger kids. I don't want to sound old, but that was a lot of the old NBA was like that. You see that like Michael Jordan. Just to clear out for him. He'd take the defender one-on-one to the basket and then shoot it, take it to the rim, or like I said, pass it off or whatever. Or you get fouled and go to the free throw line.
That was mostly when Doug Collins was the head coach.
Right, or the old right before Phil Jackson.
Yeah.
But you lose DiVincenzo. So I heard that he was. What came out the next day was that he was a little unhappy that his playing minutes would be down because they have Mikal
Mhm.
Bridges, who's a big time scorer too. So I think he was a little disappointed with that. He probably didn't want to get traded, but it might be better for him in the long run. But to get something, you have to give something. So you're going to see Deuce McBride made a big step up last season. So here he's going to fill in too at guard. And the Knicks drafted Kolak, who is like a pure point guard almost, and he's been very good in the Vegas league and Vegas league and what we've seen him in his old college. But so the Knicks have plays, but I think a lot of it was the Knicks had a chance to get a a big time center scorer in the prime of his career, and they're going for the NBA title this year, barring injury. Like we always say, we got to get to the playoffs first, healthy. And Richard Robinson will be back hopefully in January or December or January, and he'll be able to come in off the bench. Sometimes they also said they might play both of them at the same time. You could see that too down the stretch of the game where you have Karl Anthony Towns and Rich Robinson on the court at the same time. But the Knicks have a lot of options. They have a lot of options off the bench. Of course, we still have OG. We have Precious coming off the bench. So, well, I think OG will start. But the Knicks have a lot of offense. They're going to be a team to contend with. Like I said, if everyone's healthy and everyone knows their role, they're going to score a lot of points this year.
That's the word that is important to know. Know your role. Every team got to know their roles. That's how you win. You got to know your roles. And but on paper they look good, but
Yeah,
again, chemistry, team chemistry is
right.
everything. Let's see how that will work out.
Of course, the Knicks want to play that up tempo, get the ball up court. Towns is the guy who can get up court and hit that 3 pointer, 7 footer, making those kind of shots. He's a 40% 3 point shooter and 52 from inside the arc. But that's impressive. That's impressive. That's something now you have to worry about that. The Knicks could stretch the floor. I mean, it's no more like, okay, they're gonna try to get the ball to Randall. Of course Brunson runs the offense, but now they're going to take that isolation out, like we said earlier, and there are going to be a lot of good looks. The Knicks will get a lot of good looks for their players.
How many wins do you think the Knicks will get this year, and where do you see them in the standings? This is not a right or wrong answer.
All right, well, it's still early yet. Like I always say, like I always base my winning and everything off health. So if a healthy Knicks team, they could win probably 55 games. I would say about maybe they could flirt with 60. Depends, they give players rest now. Um, they might go through a streak of games where they don't play well or on the roads or get some tough losses. But as long as they're playing well down the stretch, and here's another prediction. I predict that before we get to the playoffs next year, the Knicks will pick up somebody else to come off the bench to score a little bit. I think they're going to get themselves another scorer, whether that's at the trade deadline or somebody that gets cut because of salary cap considerations. So I think the Knicks will add somebody to later on in the year. But I'll say 55, 60 wins. I'll go out on that kind of limb.
That was going to be my follow-up question. How do you see the Knicks bench? Do you think they have a solid bench so far, or they're still missing that one or two pieces?
Well, I don't think that really matters. No, the bench is solid because of course, during the regular season, more players play. They shorten the rotation in the playoffs. Remember, you have Deuce McBride. You'll have Precious coming off the bench. You have, I guess, Josh Hart or start or however they work up the line. Remember, Mikal Bridges can play a lot of minutes. He can score. They're not going to take if they're playing well. They're not going to sit them. They're going to give them their rest that they need and play them. So,
He's a good two-way player. I like him. He's a
right,
good
he can
two-way
play.
player.
Right, he can play defense too. That was the big attraction to him. The Knicks got themselves 2 30 points, people who can score 30 points a game. I know that it's not the average, but Bridges and Karl Anthony Towns are both 25-point scorers, give or take. And with more minutes or more shooting, they might be able to score even more than that. I mean, that's not always a big deal, but they have a lot of offense potentially. So I think they'll be fine off the bench. Like I said, you can always pick up plays down later on in the season at the trade deadline if they need somebody. Maybe somebody goes down and they have to bring in another forward, or something along those lines. Um, during the trade, something that went past a lot of New York media. I'm going to bring it up real quick. So the Knicks also got from Charlotte um, the draft rights to James Najia. So he's a Spanish player. He plays in the Spain league. He uh he was drafted by the Pistons in 2023, not this year, last year, and he was the 31st pick. And he's a center, 6'11". He's a pretty good player. He didn't want to come over to the NBA for whatever reason. I don't think he wanted to play with Detroit. But I think he's gonna come over. He might be another person off the bench that the Knicks could use, another big man to go along with Jericho Sims and Mitchell Robinson.
I gotta look into that. I gotta look into that and see his highlights, his game, know more about
Yeah,
him.
he plays in the
Because
Spanish league.
I've always been a fan of Spanish basketball players. I feel they always carry with a chip on their shoulder, and deserve much more attention and credit. So I gotta look into him. What's his name again?
James, and his last name is spelled Najji. He's a center.
Oh,
He's six
interesting.
foot 11. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think he's gonna be like, oh, I get to play with the Knicks. They could win the NBA title. You might see him come over at least in training camp in another couple of weeks. We'll see how it works out, and he might get himself a roster spot. Because what also went underneath the radar is the Knicks had to bring the Hornets in, and Timberwolves had to bring the Hornets into the trade to relieve some salary cap issues. So a lot of the Knicks players who didn't play a lot, like DeCon Jeffries, Charlie Brown Jr., Dwayne Washington, they were all traded to Charlotte. I guess they either keep them or they have short contracts. And they also got 3 picks, the Hornets, 2 from the Knicks and 1 from the Wolves. So they pretty much did this for salary relief and some future draft capital for them. That's what they're getting out of the deal.